It started when my sister, Michaela Johnston, died at 3. It was murder. When it happened, we were asleep, my family and I, and we just heard the screams. They were the most shattered, hopeless screams I had ever heard in my life. And then they just stopped. My parents ran to Michaela's room to see what was the matter, while me and my 7-year-old sister just sort of looked at each other. I was 10. My sister, Anna, said, "What's wrong with Michaela?" I shrugged. "Nightmare," I said. "She's 3. Toddlers are scared of everything." "Yeah," said Anna doubtfully. We heard another scream, my mother's voice, hoarse and haunted. My dad's usually deep, controlled voice muttered with a tremor, "Oh my God, the blood." She was dead. Michaela was dead. After her death, life got steadily weirder for us, the Johnstons. We would all have the same nightmares and wake up at the same time. And we all would see Michaela in our dreams, which freaked us all out, Anna the most. Anna said she would see Michaela, and as Anna watched her, Michaela would rot into a corpse, a tiny corpse with blonde hair sprouting from its head. And the knocking. It continued, late into the night, driving us all insane. It wasn't until later that Dad realized it was tapping SOS in Morse code. Of course, none of that had anything to do with Michaela's death. We were all still in shock. I still expected her to be there when I got home from school, grinning her little smile, saying in her small voice, "Sissy hug, Sissy hug." She was never there. It was silence that greeted me. My mom started going back to work. She's a writer, so going back to work is pretty much her locked in her office. She might as well be halfway across the world for all we see of her. And after the knocking came the whispers. They sent chills up and down our spines, but even after we called the air conditioning repairman, we still heard them. At first, they were unintelligible, little hisses and quiet murmurs, until Anna realized it sounded like her soul is gone, over and over and over. Now we can't hear anything else. After the whispers, our house started almost breaking apart. Whenever one of us would come home, something would be broken. Snapped chair legs, rips in the furniture. Once I even came home to a shattered window. But despite what Anna thought, it couldn't be Michaela doing this. Dad called the police for vandalism and breaking and entering, but they couldn't find anything damaged on the doors or anything valuable missing from our home. There was no explanation for it. It just became a nuisance, another thing to worry about. And after that, Anna started waking up with bruises and cuts. She said they didn't hurt, but they looked nasty. I always cringed when I saw them, since we still shared a room. Neither of us wanted to take Michaela's place. It seemed rude in a way. All of her books and toys were just as they were when she died. And Anna began to act odd sometimes. I would awaken at night to find her watching me, just standing over me, staring at me as I slept. The first time it happened, I screamed and she jumped, frozen and wide-eyed. She was sleepwalking. Now I just get up and gently lead her back to her own bed. It got even worse when Mom and Dad started fighting. They would fight about bills, fight about each other, fight about the house, fight about Anna and I, fight about Michaela. Eventually, Dad left. He said it was only for a little while. He said he just needed to get himself together. But he never came back, even though technically Mom and Dad were still married, and he was still helping to pay for our house. It was just me, Anna, and Mom. Mom wrote all day long, and Anna just continued to act weird. Mom told me that it was just Anna's way of coping with all of everything, just like she coped with it by writing. I wasn't convinced about Anna, but Mom sounded sure, so I didn't contradict her. I was scared for Anna and scared for us, but I ignored my instincts. I told myself we'd be fine. I told myself what I wanted to hear. I told myself lies. It was May 6th, a Sunday, when it happened. It was 3 in the morning, and I was sound asleep in my bed when I awoke to the familiar feeling of eyes watching me. I sighed and got up, slipping my feet into my warm slippers and easing my hands onto Anna's shoulders. Her head jerked towards me, her eyes wide and shiny in the dark. I jumped. Her hands reached up and smacked over my own shoulders, her nails digging into my flesh. "It's okay, Anna. Go back to bed," I cooed. She spoke. Well, her mouth moved, but it wasn't her voice that came out. "Help us, Haley," she said. They said. For instead of her voice, out came 1,000 whispers of a snake. That was when I screamed, as loud as I could, trying to wake her up from this terrible dream, trying to make her Anna again. Trying. All I managed to do was make my mother up, who screamed too. I heard pounding feet and sobbing. I didn't know why she was hysterical then, but now I know. Nobody wants their kid to die, and nobody, not one person, could live the same if another one of their children died, the same way, ended abruptly by a knife or gun. She thought I had died too. The light flicked on, and my mom sighed in relief when she saw that we were both fine, physically at least. But it was too soon for relief, too soon for her to be off guard. Anna whipped around, hissing. "Anna?" said Mom, and looked at me in confusion. "Anna!" she yelled. Anna lunged at her, hands flying, trying to rip my mother to shreds. My mom caught her and hugged her close as she thrashed around. "What happened?" my mother said over all the noise. "I don't really know," I said, and explained it to her the best I could. Mom nodded, her whole body thrashing from side to side with Anna's relentless whipping. What happened next seemed to be in slow motion. Anna leaned to the side as far as she could and grabbed a coat hanger from our vanity. Mom dropped Anna in horror, and Anna stabbed her in the foot with the wire. We all screamed, Anna with joy, Mom with pain, and I with shock. My mother fell to the ground as Anna continued to stab her with the coat hanger. In the neck, the heart, the head. I ran forward and tried to pry Anna off, but she just turned around and bared her teeth at me. I jumped back and tried punching her, but she didn't even flinch. "Go," my mom said hoarsely, blood bubbling out of her nose and mouth. She weakly lifted her arms to try and push Anna off. "Run." I shook my head. "No, no!" I kicked Anna, but it only hurt my foot and not Anna at all. "Anna!" I screamed. All she did was stabbed. My eyes replayed it 1,000 times as I turned and ran. Away from my house, away from my dying mother, away from my insane sister. I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't care. The early morning wind crept under my pajamas and settled in my bones. I cried as I ran, but I didn't stop running. I won't stop. I won't ever stop. I'll keep going until I collapse. I've been running for 4 hours now. The world is starting to awaken around me, but I don't care. I will always be asleep inside, dead inside. I run.